It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live under snowy skies again from my Lake George studio from my Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. I hope you're not getting as much friggin' snow as we are. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. I'll give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simons to get a decent Italian meal. And speaking of St. Simons, as far as I know, join us next week. Is it next week already? Yeah, next week, January 19th. Is it next week? Yeah. I don't know. No, January 19th. I guess it's the week after. Yeah, it's the week after. I don't know. January 19th at the Sea Palms Resort. Join me and Sal and some former world champions and maybe even a special guest, which we'll announce later in the week, for our next Billy C event. We will be showing you not one, not two, not three, but 4 classic fights. You'll be part of our live audience as we record our next episodes of Billy C's Boxing Revisited. Come on, we'll have some food for you, a cash bar. You'll love it. Make the plans now. Bring the whole family. It's a Friday night. You'll have the whole weekend. It's a great place to be. Sea Palms. Go to the website, seapalms.com, and call them up and tell them you want the Billy C event. And also, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting my man Tom Molyneux's story told. Coming up a little bit later, Dax Kahn is scheduled to join us. He's got some thoughts on television networks. I got some news to talk about, some scheduled fights, some unscheduled fights, some emails to read, some sports scores, the NFL playoffs, the national championship game. Can't wait for that tonight. But first, today's main topic that I'm going to kick off the show with is Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker should be, for all intents and purposes, should be announced this week. I know we've been talking about it. Oh, it's any day now. Oh, it's definitely. But according to multiple reports, David Higgins, who's the promoter for Duco Events, he's the co-promoter of Joseph Parker. He's on a plane right now, 26-hour plane ride from the land down under to England to meet with Eddie Hearn, to get the final stages. According to Higgins, Eddie Hearn and he have pretty much cut the deal. The revenue split was agreed on. Bottom line, Anthony Joshua getting 2/3 and Joseph Parker getting 1/3 of the total revenue. The date is set. It's most likely going to take place March 31st. The venue has not been set. They are looking most leading towards a UK venue with a possibility of it being in Wales. There's one thing There's a couple of minor promotional rights that they want to talk about, but there is one major thing that has not been decided yet. And that, boys and girls, is the American television rights. It gets a little confusing here, but first, joining me all the way from St. Simon's, he just tied up his horse. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, Crazy Horse from F2. Oh, no, not Crazy Horse from F2. Sal, Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
There you snow again.
Yeah, it's snowing again. Yeah, I can't take it. I looked out the window.
Man, that was some great. Billy and I were on the phone earlier doing some trivia, man. Let me tell you, that was Crazy Horse. That was the one we were missing from the F Troop.
Look out the studio window, and she's a snowing like a crazy. But
I did the Hakawi's snow dance for you.
That's right, the Hakawi's snow dance. Who was that sad ass medicine man?
Calamity Jane. She was the hot blonde.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Calamity Jane. Hey, you know what? I think getting back to boxing, I think that Sarge was a boxer.
Forrest Tucker.
I think he was a fighter, wasn't he?
I think he was. Forrest Tucker was a fighter. I think he was always beating up on Agarn, Larry Storch.
Larry Storch, yeah. As a matter of fact, coaches put in Larry Storch in the chat room. But anyway, back to boxing a bit.
Back to reality.
Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker. We've been talking a lot about that. The American television rights aren't set yet. And here's some of the dicey situation with that, Sal. Showtime, which had a contract with Anthony Joshua, has a matching right for one more of his fights under their existing contract. HBO has been really reaching out and has what they term as major interest in Anthony Joshua, and they need to do something. And they also have an exclusive contract with Eddie Hearn's Daniel Jacobs, who signed with Eddie Hearn at the end of last year. And they also televised Parker's fight against Andy Ruiz in December. Now, the third piece of the puzzle here is Bob Arum, because he's a co-promoter of Joseph Parker, and he wants to fight on ESPN. So, I mean, because he had set that long-term deal with them. So here we got a pretty dicey situation. It sounds like Anthony Joshua owes a right to broadcast on Showtime. HBO is trying to get back as being in the mix, so to speak, because I know everybody talks about HBO, but they clearly fell off the map, so to speak, I think, last year. And ESPN has stepped up and brought us some great fights. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Where do you think this fight should end up?
I think it'll end up on Showtime. Showtime or HBO. I think ESPN, although it would be great to have it on ESPN, I think it's going to be a venue that Showtime is going to go after, and HBO will try to put it in their budget to go after as well.
Yeah, I think HBO is going to
they're going to pull a full court press. They're going to want to put it all. It's going to be a double down bet for HBO.
I think HBO needs to get a major fighter under a long-term deal. Daniel Jacobs is a great fighter, but he's not a major fighter. Heavyweights are major fighters, and as you can see, they're making a play for Anthony Joshua, which I think is a smart move. The issue is going to be Showtime. Maybe they have to agree to sign a deal after this fight. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the cards shake out. But one thing I'm really curious to see is what's the story with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, I mean, the two fights in the heavyweight division that we were looking forward to was Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker unification fight, and then, of course, Deontay Wilder fighting Luis Ortiz, when they went through their whole WWE shtick at Anthony Joshua's last fight, if you want to call it that, a demolishing of Bermane Vern. And I wonder why this fight hasn't been in the press. It's a fight that, in my opinion, has to be signed, sealed, and delivered and take place right around the time of Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker, because the facts are the facts. I mean, after these two fights, or Wilder and Ortiz and Parker and AJ, we're going to want to see the two winners fight each other. What's your thoughts on the official announcement of Wilder-Ortiz not coming as soon as I think it should?
Bill, like I was saying towards the end of last week's show and off air to you, I mean, that's the hard time I have with fighting today versus boxing in the 70s and 80s. When fighters who wanted to fight each other, truly wanted to fight each other, there was no subterfuge. They sat down at the table, they got it done, and next thing we knew they were signed to fight each other. And the promotion started, grassroots and all. It came out, whether it was Aaron, whether it was King, whether it was Duva, whether it was anybody. These guys wanted to fight, and that was it, because they wanted to prove who was the baddest guy on the planet, and they weren't afraid to put it up or shut it up. And that's the hard time today, understanding how the fights are orchestrated and eventually made years after the fact, because here we've been talking about fights like this, and we're still not given privy to what the status is, let alone that the contract is signed, sealed, and going to be delivered. And the truth of the matter is, if Deontay Wilder wanted to fight Anthony Joshua as much as they both claimed they would, that fight should have been signed, sealed, delivered as well. You know what I'm talking about. You were there. You know when Ali called out this one, or someone had called out Ali, boom, the next thing we knew, the fight was in the making. It's just not the same thing today. So it's frustrating. And I think there's going to be some talk that is holding the Deontay Wilder Ortiz fight from happening. Hopefully we'll hear some rumblings about it this week, and maybe by the end of the week we'll get something solid that we can start looking forward to.
Well, the truth of the matter is that fight had been tentatively set for early March on Showtime, but I have heard no official announcement of it yet. They had talked about the date. I'm pretty sure right after, not maybe a week to 10 days after Deontay Wilder destroyed Bermane Stavern. But there's no official announcement, and that brings me to the next thing. Deontay Wilder. I caught this article, and normally I don't promote other articles other than what's on ours or anything, but I caught this article that basically is giving the author of the article, Brian Mazicue, I think is how you pronounce his last name, and I apologize, Mr. Mazicue, or Brian, if I'm destroying it. But he put out an article about the 5 reasons, in his opinion, why Deontay Wilder isn't a big name in the sport of boxing. And he feels he should be, but he defines why he's not. And he gives some interesting reasons, and I can't agree with this guy more. First of all, Deontay Wilder, as we all know, is the WBC heavyweight champion. He's undefeated, 39-0 with 38 knockouts, 6'7", 220-pound guy. As Brian puts it, he looks more like a first baseman in baseball, an NFL tight end, or a forward in the NBA. And I've always said, Sal, that I feel that he's got the body of an NBA player. I mean, he does. He really does. I mean, he's big, he's strong. He is an athletic guy, although he rarely shows that to us. He's an American fighter. He wants to know, why, he's not a big deal. And just for numbers' sakes, Anthony Joshua, not that this makes or breaks a fighter, but Anthony Joshua has 1.8, slightly lower than 2 million Twitter followers. Wilder has less than 250,000 at 238. 80,000 people, 90,000 people come and see Anthony Joshua live, and the Barclays Center where Deontay Wilder fought had trouble getting 11,000 in there. Didn't even come close to selling out. At 18,000 seats, and everybody's wondering why Wilder should get 50-50 split when the drawing power is pretty clean. Sal, hold a thought, because I got his 5 reasons that I want to go over with you. Yeah, because you're going to be impressed just like I was. We're going to take a short break. When I come back, I got the 5 reasons why Brian Mazzacue and I, because I agree with him, are giving for why Deontay Wilder is not as big of a name as he seems to think he is. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Looks like you're not sleeping well.
How did you know? And Megan!
Hey, you're that guy.
The My Pillow guy.
That's right, and I'm here to help you get the best sleep of your lives. Just like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and none of them worked. That's why I invented My Pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck aligned. My Pillow will hold its shape all night long, regardless of your sleep position, for the best sleep of your life.
Call or go online to order My Pillow Premium, and Mike will give you a second pillow absolutely free. Use the promo code on your screen to get 2 My Pillows for the price of 1. Don't delay. Order now.
You're sleeping better.
Much better.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And just before I went to break, I was talking about an article that I caught written by a guy named Brian Mazzacue. Never heard of him. Sorry, Brian. But I agree with his 5 reasons why Deontay Wilder isn't a big name in the sport of boxing, at least compared to Anthony Joshua. It seems to be a guy who's got global recognition. Deontay Wilder he's not even known in New York, where he calls his second home, the Barclays Center. The first one of these 5 major factors, according to him, and this is why none of us believe that Deontay Wilder will ever get a 50-50 split. Unrefined technique for most of his career is what Brian says. He says early in Wilder's career, he wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing fighter to watch. Truth be told, he was wild and seemingly very vulnerable if he ever come up against a truly elite heavyweight. Many fight fans placed him in a box 4 or 5 years ago. He's come a long way since his early days, but many in the boxing community still don't appear to be high on his skill level. As far as
I know
that's
you
concerned,
agree with that.
Well, as far as that's concerned, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that the problem I have with Deontay Wilder and his style is that, and it's contradictory to what he says, Sal. He claims that he's the best heavyweight in the world. He claims he's had a tougher road to where he is today than Anthony Joshua. However, when he fights, and he's only done it twice, in what I think a refined, let's use the same choice of words, a refined technique, is only when he fought Berman Stavern, as he displayed using a jab and setting up his power punches, his right hand. He used movement, stuff like that. He's never used that against other fighters. The other fighters, he goes in, seek, and destroy. If he thinks that he could do that just with the fighters that he thinks are good, that's a bad habit to get into, because during training, you would think that this is a guy who thinks he's better than every guy he gets in the ring. What's your thoughts on Brian's unrefined technique for most of his career as one of the 5 reasons why Deontay's not as big as he should be?
Well, I don't know if I agree 100% with that. I do agree that is classifying Deontay Wilder in the right picture, but I don't know if I agree that that's one of the reasons why he's not so popular, because what he does do, he does give knockouts. He does give his fan base an opportunity to be electrified, because you never know which punch is going to do it. So his style, it may not be pretty, but it's effective. And as far as him being unrefined and wild, yeah, it's synonymous with his name, Wilder. I mean, he punches from all angles. He doesn't do much by the textbook. And, like I'm saying, I think having a trainer and someone that was so well schooled and so polished in Mark Breland and what he did in the ring, fundamentally sound technique and established credibility as far as having a skill set. Other than money, I don't think he'd be wasting his time on top of a heavyweight unless he thought he had the potential to come around. We just haven't seen that side of Deontay Wilder coming around, and hopefully Mark Breland is working on that skill set to teach him some of the fundamentals that Wilder's going to need when he steps into a ring with a real bona fide, legitimate, world-class opponent like Anthony Joshua. And so I still say that Deontay Wilder is a dangerous fight for a multitude of reasons, no matter what his style. But is it pretty? Is it this? Would it be enough to keep him down? I don't know if that one element alone is enough to keep him out of the notoriety or the publicity or the fan base wanting to see more from him. I don't agree with that 100%, but I do agree that he is 100% correct that Deontay Wilder has a kind of style you cannot really depict as you would like to see a pretty boxer.
Yeah, I mean, nobody ever said he was pretty. I mean, what makes him exciting is his knockout power. But I for the most part, I think it's more of a habit. If he does have the technique and he's only, employing it when he feels he needs to, that's a habit that he's developing. And, you would assume he's not going to take AJ lightly when he fights him. And I hope he doesn't take Luis Ortiz lightly either, even though Ortiz is probably 5 years older than we think. But that's one of the reasons. The second reason, which I think is a BS reason,
Yeah, I'm not so sold on that one reason. As far as, like I said, maybe cumulatively it all adds up, but because he's not an exciting fighter in the sense where I was never drawn to follow him or watch him. I am now because I know he's seriously going to be recognized and having to step up and one day fight a fighter like Anthony Joshua. But with that being said, there's more reasons than just that reason alone that can bona fide and be established why he's not as popular as Anthony Joshua. But go on.
Well, here's some more reasons.
Here, number two.
Here's some more reasons according to the article. And this one I think is a total BS reason. He says his opponent's anti-doping violations. He says Wilder has had terrible luck with opponents. He's had 3 of them fail pre-fight drug tests, and the delays have cost him potential momentum and as much as 2 years of production and earnings. Had he faced and knocked out Luis Ortiz, Alexander Povetkin, Andres Warwick, the narrative might have been different for Wilder. I don't know about this. The the Alexander Povetkin fight, that turned out to be a false result. The Luis Ortiz was blood pressure medicine. He could have picked some other top guys, but he didn't. He always picked a slug. And the truth of the matter is I think some of those were already predetermined. I think that he already knew that Ortiz was going to fail. He already knew Povetkin was going to fail. I don't know. I've heard many opinions on that, and one of them is one I lean towards was that it was all predetermined. I don't know. It just seems awfully fishy to me that you fight, you go to sign a fight, and you would think that if there's so much money on the line, that you would take some precautions. Hey, listen, we're thinking about bringing you in, Mr. So-and-so, to fight. We are going to have Olympic-style testing. Can you pass them? When you got that much money on the line, I mean, if you say, well, not right now, or yes, I think I can, and then all of a sudden you get, you test positive for something you didn't even know you were taking. I don't know. It just seems, I don't know enough about the PEDs to really comment, but I don't know. I don't know if I use that as a legit excuse. What about you?
Now, see, you and I are on the first two reasons, maybe opposite. Now, I do believe that because, see, when a fighter is on a roll or a fighter has momentum and a fighter wants to be seen and they sign a deal or they're supposed to have something take place and then all of a sudden it's canceled and all of a sudden again it's next one's canceled, yeah, you lose that steam. You lose that momentum. You're a commodity, Billy C., when you are on top of the world like that. And your fan base or other people are counting on you. The promoters, the managers, the trainers, guess what? They all want paydays. And the only way they're going to do it is when you fight and you get paid. So having had consecutive fights that never came about or never materialized because of whatever reason, that slows down the progress. That slows down the momentum. And it slows down and discredits or ruins the credibility of, is this guy for real? What's going on? Yeah, nobody wants to fight him. That's a reputation. Oh, well, I'm not going to look forward to it. It's not going to happen. Maybe, he'll fight next month. We'll see him. Oh, it's canceled again. It does disrupt the continuity of a progression of a natural course of a champion to establish and have his fans. So consecutively, yeah, nobody wants to be involved with that drama. Nobody wants to see that happen. And that's what we were given from Deontay Wilder. So I will use that as one instance of the credibility factor of why maybe he's not so much in demand, because we don't know what to get.
Well, I'm a little confused. Do you mean that you're not buying that as an excuse, or that is a good excuse?
I'm buying that as partial. Cumulatively, there's going to be 5. I would look at this second reason a little bit more at a snapshot and be a credible reason than the first reason.
My thought is just, you you gotta pick if Luis. First of all, Luis Ortiz was a guy who failed a drug test before. So did Povetkin. They both had a history of it. So if you're going to sign a fight like that, you need to take the precautions to make sure they're going to pass, number one. But more importantly, have a backup plan, not some slug that you got to, beg to come in and replace somebody. I don't know. I'm not crazy about this as a reason. I have a simple explanation for why he's not as big as we all think he should be in terms of public recognition, but I'll get to that at the end. I'm going to take a short break here, and then when we come back, we'll finish up. I got 3 more reasons that Brian Mazzacue, who wrote an article on what he thinks are the 5 reasons Deontay Wilder is not as big of a name as he should be. I'll read those, the last 3, in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative 3-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Show. Don't forget to join Sal and myself on Friday, January 19th, for our next Billy C. boxing event. It's going to be taking place at the beautiful, I'm starving, I need some food, man, at the beautiful resort in St. Simon's Island, the Sea Palms. So go to seapalms.com, give them a call and tell them you want to be part of the Billy C. event. It's January 19th. We will be showing you not one, not two, not three, but 4 classic fights on the big screen. We will have some food for you. We'll have a cash bar. You'll get to mingle with some former world champions and some special guests. You'll have a great time. If you've been to one of our events before, you know that already. If not, it's time. Bring the family down for a weekend. Our event's a Friday night. We are going to crash Sal's place, so you'll be able to check out the food I keep talking about over at Sal's. So, hey, make a weekend. It's our after the holiday party, so come on down and have some fun. Sal and I are in the middle of giving the 5 reasons, according to Brian Mazicue, why Deontay Wilder isn't the big name that he should be. I'm on one right now. He says he isn't polarizing. Wilder accepted. That's not inconceivable, but probably not true. His personality simply isn't that interesting to most people, and that's a real shame. If he were a raving lunatic, always spewing controversial rhetoric, he'd be more popular and must-see TV, even if it were for all the wrong reasons. See, now I see that's what he does now. That's my impression. He says if he were a different color, he may not need to be all those things because there would be a novel quality to his reign as champion. For example, white heavyweight champions are an extreme rarity. The last time the sport saw one was 24 years ago when the late Tommy Morrison held a WBO title. If Wilder were white, would he be more popular? It's hard to argue against the concept, but it's certainly not the prevailing factor. I totally disagree with that. I think that the so far the first 3 reasons Brian has given, I disagree with. I think the reason that he isn't interesting to people is he's always pounding his chest. He's always saying he's the best, and he's yet to really prove it based on his resume. I hate that the guy even brought in color because that is always the excuse that they make. You know, I just, listen, the sport, I hate to say it, but as far as the sport is concerned, there's better black fighters than there are white fighters. And you can make an argument that there's better Hispanic fighters than there are black fighters. I mean, we could get into this, but the truth of the matter is, why? Does it really matter? You know, the people that draw the color line, the people it reminds me of a commercial I used to watch when I was a kid. And it was a grandfather talking to his grandson. And his grandson says to him, "Hey, Grandpa, my friend says I'm prejudiced." And the grandfather says, "Why?" And he said, or Tommy says I'm prejudiced. Why? And who's Tommy? No, he goes, Tommy says I'm prejudiced. And the grandfather says, who's Tommy? And the kid says, Tommy's one of my Jewish friends. And the grandfather says, well, then you are prejudiced. Because if you weren't, you would just refer to Tommy as your friend and not one of your Jewish friends. And the truth of the matter is it's the same. You know, why can't we give fighters credit for being good and not have to throw in the color? I don't like that he used this as an example. No. What's your thoughts, Sal?
No, I too. And you know what? I could just say off the cuff without doing any kind of investigation, I'm sure there have been many more black heavyweight champions than white heavyweight champions. And the bottom line is every one of those guys, not everyone, but had popularity that they earned. And, you know, it's almost like, remember after Ali, Larry Holmes spent half of his time as a heavyweight champion saying that he's still in the shadow of Ali and he doesn't get the respect, or he's still not recognized, or, you know, nobody wants to see a whiner or somebody complain or somebody be up there on that level and live in a shadow or try to, you know, just be anybody else but themselves. And I think Deontay Wilder has more problems than not as far as trying to be the kind of people's champion, no matter what color, race, or creed, that people are drawn to and attracted to because there's something unique and special about him. I think that's the charismatic factor that, some fighters have and some fighters don't. Mike Tyson had the shock appeal. There's been many fighters on that level that automatically draw a fan base and are exciting to watch. And for whatever reason, Deontay Wilder has not really captivated the audience and has attracted that many people other than what he has as far as his own little sphere of influence and his fan base. And there's other reasons, but that's not one of them. Color, race, creed has nothing to do with why he's not popular.
I agree. It's just an excuse.
Yes.
The fourth reason he has, I do agree with. He says he's poorly promoted. He says with everything Wilder brings to the table, there's no reason Showtime and Lou DiBella shouldn't be pushing him at every possible opportunity. Once his fights have a date, Showtime should be running countdowns to the Deontay Wilders on their network. It doesn't happen. The Twitter accounts of Lou DiBella and DiBella Entertainment don't have the requisite references to Wilder. If you scroll through Lou's Twitter feed, there's exactly one reference to Wilder from Saturday morning dating back as far as November, and it was a retweet from someone commenting on an article. DiBella's Entertainment's account talks up Wilder only right before and immediately after his fights. It's not enough. He's the only American heavyweight champion, and his promoters and his network treat him as if he's just another fighter. Early on, it seemed as if they protected him a great deal from real challenges, almost as if they weren't complete believers in his own skill level. Now that he's risen as high as he can without being regarded as the top draw at heavyweight in the world, it's like his team doesn't know what to do with him from a promotional standpoint. See, now I agree with this 100%. Lou DiBella doesn't promote anybody. Lou DiBella, he's got all these fighters under contract, and the guy is one of the worst promoters in terms of promotion that I've ever seen. Yes, he signs the fights. Yes, he's a puppet for Al Heyman. Yes, he puts on a lot of shows, etc., but he doesn't actually promote his fighters. That's the problem. I've said this many times before. Promoters don't promote anymore. I 100% agree with this one. What do you think, Sal?
Well, we are on the same side of this aisle, because I'll tell you what, Bill, I agree 100% there, too. Like I said, I keep referring back to some of the early days that you and I were involved in actively when I was a fighter, and they're just, you cannot beat the grassroots promotion. And, when you get a fighter that evolves to the level of Deontay Wilder, it's due to many reasons. And, he should even be coached, but he should be promoted. There should be a story about it. I don't know anything about Deontay Wilder. I don't know what it is about Deontay Wilder. I never heard a story about Deontay Wilder. We should hear a tag story or what makes this guy special, or what did he do to where was he when he decided he wanted to be a fighter? What was it? Was he bullied on the schoolyard because he was tall and lanky, and did he have to defend himself? I mean, some story that you could stick, you could analogize, you could associate, you could say, "Wow, I like this fighter. Here's his story," or "This is what happened here." And like ABC in the 70s and 80s, they were great with fighters when they did the network TV, and they would say, "Hey, we're going to show you this guy, showcase, up close and personal. Here's what happened." So you identified something. There was something that fans could associate. And let me tell you about. A lot of fans like to live vicariously through their fighters, and they see something that they can identify and personalize. Wow, you know what? I understand him. He understands me. That's the kind of thing that we don't see today in a game of boxing.
I also agree with his fifth reason, and his fifth and final reason says he's lacking the definitive victory. Wilder has an amazing record, but he really hasn't beaten anyone of note. Up to now, his best win came over Stavern twice. The first one was nice. It brought him his world title, but the second one only took place because Ortiz failed the pre-fight drug test. 2 wins over Stavern isn't enough to make Wilder a star. If he's going to turn the corner, he needs to win a series of fights over the best in the division. If that happens, there'll be no way to deny him what he's earned. And that's basically the bottom line, Sal. If this guy had a definitive victory under his belt, there'd be no argument. His next fight against Luis Ortiz is going to be a big win for him should he come out on top. But the naysayers are going to say Luis Ortiz is 150 years old. And Luis Ortiz hasn't even been busy in the last several years. So I'm not sure he'll get the credit he deserves, even with a win over Ortiz. But to be honest with you, should he win a fight against Luis Ortiz, you'd have to give him some credibility. I still don't think he's a 50-50 split-worthy fighter against Anthony Joshua. And if he doesn't come to his senses, the guy's going to be making under $2 million forever. The only way this guy can get into the next level of purses is if he shuts his mouth, fights AJ, takes the money they offer him, and then use that as a stepping stone, never to fight for less than what he makes against the first AJ fight, because you know he's going to get 2 fights against AJ. But of these 5, I agree with the poorly promoted and lacking definitive victory, Sal.
Yeah, Bill, we're on the same page. I agree with that one 100%. But also, it goes back to where I also agreed with the one statement with the continuity, the canceled fights, this and that, because those would have been those early victories that could have propelled him more into a shining light or something like that. And so it goes hand in hand. He has to have a defining fight where he either picks himself up off the canvas or he comes back and he looks good against a recognized fighter. And that defining fight people will win. He'll win hearts. He'll win this and that if he should prevail and come through on a big level. But like you said, if he takes this fight and humbles himself and gets in the ring with Anthony Joshua, as you so well clearly stated, this will boost his bench level up tremendously, because now he's fighting on a big stage against a big name, and he will make more than $2 million a fight after all is said and done, no matter what he does against Anthony Joshua, win, lose, or draw. And the 2 fights that he can have with Anthony Joshua, with the rematch clause in place, it should be enough for him to retire. But it won't be, because he got an ego. He's still able to fight, and he'll be able to do it. So I agree.
Yeah. Oh, well, at least we agree on that.
I just put extra words in there.
I got an update. Devon Alexander, it was announced over the weekend that he's taking on Victor Ortiz February 17th. This sounds to me like this is the winner gets to move forward. The loser, this is his last chance of chances. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is it. This is the put up or shut up. That's what this is.
Yeah, well, I think that neither one of these guys have proven that they belong in the mix with anything. But I guess if they fight each other, the winner gets a shot. I don't know.
Winner gets to go on, the loser gets to become an opponent. I don't know.
We got a bunch of emails, and if we don't get to all of them today, we'll read them, the rest of them, on Wednesday. As a program, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow. But we will be here for the rest of the week. Now, next week, we're off. And the reason is because I'm heading south to St. Simon's Island for our next event. That's why I keep saying it's next week, Sal, because as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. It's at the end of next week.
Yeah.
We got to go to the end of this week. So, yeah, I guess wow, is that the time? Boy,
well, we don't have to.
These days, this year's going right by.
Why don't you? Yeah, this year's over already. Remember when it was 2018? But, hey, listen, I want to announce that we finally, we'll be doing, I told you guys you're going to be seeing and hearing about some new segments we're coming on.
Oh, boy.
A couple of good news stories I want to tell you. Number one, the return of Larry Hazard. He will be back on this show on Wednesday, so we're looking forward to that. Our next new segment that you're going to see is called Billy C's Magic Boxing Machine. And the first fight we're going to put on there, one that we all agreed on, Roberto Duran against Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. at lightweight. Sal and Dax and Alex Papali and myself will break down those fights, give you our opinions, and let the computer tell us who would have won the fight. At first, we're doing this segment once a month. This one will be our first one. Look for it to appear on this show on Thursday, January 25th. So little news and notes for you there. The NFL playoffs started this weekend, the wild card. The Titans beat the Chiefs in the AFC. The Titans beat the Chiefs 22-21 on a controversial call But nonetheless, the Titans move on. They get to play the Patriots at the Patriots Stadium this coming weekend. Also in the AFC, the Jaguars and the Bills I thought it was an entertaining game, low-scoring defensive game. The Jaguars came out on top 10-3. The Jaguars punched a ticket to Pittsburgh as they play the Steelers next week. Now, the NFC, this first game was kind of a surprise to me. I thought the Rams were the real deal, but the Falcons came from behind and won this game, 26-13. The Falcons, they go to Philadelphia to play arguably the best team in football, the Philadelphia Eagles, next weekend. And in another entertaining game, the Saints beat the Panthers. Now, this not only did they beat them 31-26, this happened to have been the third time this year that the Saints met them and beat them. So congratulations. I am not a Cam Newton fan, only because he went to Auburn and they beat up my Alabama Crimson Tide, which I'll get to in a second. But as far as an athlete, can anyone really top Cam Newton? I mean, he's a big quarterback. He runs. He bruises linebackers when he runs, and he can throw the ball. A lot of people feel that he wasn't 100% this year with an injury he sustained. So he'll get a chance to get back on top next year. But nonetheless, he made it to the playoffs. The Saints, they got to travel to Minnesota and play another top team. These four teams that are, the teams that got the byes, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Eagles, and the Vikings, four good teams. It's going to be hard for me to fathom the Patriots and the Steelers not being in the AFC Championship game and the Eagles and the Vikings not being in the NFC Championship game, but that's why we play the games. Speaking of Alabama Crimson Tide, tonight, the national title game between the two top college teams, at least that's the way it shook down. Georgia, 13-1, who won the SEC title. Their only loss coming at the hands of Auburn, takes on Alabama, who's 12-1, who squeaked into the BCS Championship Series, which I think they deserved to win. They came in as the fourth seed, and they lost to Auburn, too, their only loss. Georgia plays Alabama tonight on ESPN beginning at 8 p.m. It's a bittersweet game for me, Sal, because I love both of these teams. My favorite college team is Alabama. My second favorite team is Boise. And my third favorite college team is Georgia. Now, I have a lot of college teams I like. As a matter of fact, I prefer college football now more than the NFL. I can't stand watching the NFL sometime with all the shenanigans that goes on. But what a game tonight. You got Georgia with an outstanding three-headed running back attack. Their defense is solid, very solid, as I might add. They have team speed, and they have Jake Fromm, who's the quarterback. And Fromm has done everything right this year. He was a high school player last year, stepped in for the injured Jacob Eason, who, in my opinion, is an NFL caliber quarterback right now. And, oh, by the way, Georgia has the number one quarterback recruit already committed to them, a collection of top-rated quarterbacks on the team in Georgia. Now, Alabama, Jalen Hurts is their quarterback. They, too, have a couple of good running backs. They got a great receiver and a stifling defense who needed the rest. In their game last week against Clemson, they showed that they had a lot of energy left in the tank. However, Alabama is short some key defensive players, which I think Georgia may be able to take advantage of. It's going to boil down to one thing in this game, ladies and gentlemen, and that's going to be can Georgia basically stop Alabama's offense? And the reason why I say that, and Alabama's offense is not as explosive as Georgia's. However, the defense that Alabama is going to see in Georgia is the same defense they see every day in practice. The coach of Georgia was the defensive coordinator for Alabama. So I think that they're used to that. They're going to probably try to put together a game plan to keep Jake Fromm and that running back attack off the field. The speed leans towards Georgia in this game. I think Georgia is a faster team overall. If you get past Alabama, any of their players, they're not going to run you down. The key is going to be, can Alabama's defense stop the run and force Jake Fromm to throw the ball? And that might not be that great of a thing for Alabama. Keep your shirts on, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to be a barn burner of a game. I can't wait for this game tonight, Sal. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. I'm having my annual Christmas party tonight. And we're well, because we had to take care of everyone else's Christmas parties that we hosted going to Christmas. So we're having a Christmas party tonight, and we're going to be at Benny's Red Barn. And we're going to the old Tree Bar there where they have big screen TVs. We have a party 6 to 8, and then they're opening it up to the public. And we're going to see the big game tonight on a big screen TV. And I can't wait for this game. I am a big Georgia Bulldog fan, obviously, and that was acquired when I moved here. And I'll tell you what, I am so electrified to the fact that this is a freshman quarterback who was playing high school football last year. Last week was a great contest, and they came back from a big victory, for a big victory. And anytime, Billy C., I see whether it's a fighter getting up off the canvas like Anthony Joshua did against Klitschko, or whether it's a baseball team like the Yankees coming back from a deficit in a World Series and coming forward like they did in the 90s, or whether it's a football game like Georgia last week that we're getting clearly beaten about the first half and turned it around and probably had a lot of motivational speakers during that halftime. And they came out and they just ran those points up on the board, and ultimately they did the overtime victory last week. When you got that much heart, that much passion, that much ability on those levels alone, I really feel that the Georgia Bulldogs are going to win tonight and become the champions.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one,
but that's what great champions do. They want it tough. They don't want it easy, and they rise to the occasion. And I think Georgia has the momentum. I think they're going to rise to the occasion. And we're going to just say this: Go Dogs! Roar, roar.
Well, it's a tough one for me because I love both teams.
I know.
However, at the end of the day, my official pick, because they've been there and done that, because they've been in the championship series, at least the BCS, ever since they started doing it, and because I give the edge to a team that has been under the same guidance of Nick Saban for the whole time that they've been on that team. Every player on Alabama has been under the tutelage of Nick Saban for their whole time at school. They can't say the same for Smart because he's only been the head coach of Georgia for 2 years. His defense was his first act to get together. He's done it. They're big. They're strong. They play very physically, which is fine for Alabama. I think this game is going to go back and forth. I really do. I think that what we see in this game from the outset is what we're going to get. I don't think this game is going to have a chance to gel and morph into a one team outplaying the other substantially, like you alluded to with Georgia. They played terrible in the first half and then came back and basically it was a tale of two teams in the Oklahoma game. And then they ultimately went into overtime with the fumble by Michelle, and then double overtime victory in exciting fashion. That very well may have been mentally their victory for the season. Now they got to go fight a team that feels they've been dissed by squeaking into the BCS, by not getting the recognition that they deserve. They played Clemson like they had that chip on their shoulder, and don't think for a minute that they're not going to come in to play Georgia with that same chip. This is a tough game. I'm officially picking Alabama. The point spread, last I looked, was Alabama favored by 3.5. I don't know if they're going to win by 3.5. I think that this game is going to boil down to the last possession. A field goal may win it. A point may win it. A defensive play is going to be the key. And I'm going with that Alabama defense, despite them missing, no less than 3 key players. I'm looking for Alabama to step up and win this game. This is going to be a great game. This is going to be one of those games that people talk about for years to come. All I could say to anybody that's a football fan, whether you watch college or not, this is a game to watch tonight. And I wish I was down there with all the Dog fans, man. I really do. But then again, I may not get out of there in one piece.
Alive. If you claim you want Alabama, you ain't leaving alive.
Listen, we're going to take a short.
It's a tough crowd to walk into, Billy C.
No, I know.
This is going to have all. You know what? I'm excited about this. This is like Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier third fight, and we'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're scheduled to have Dax Kahn join us. He's going to give us his thoughts on the networks and how 2018 is going to shake out. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Looks like you're not sleeping well.
How did you know?
And Megan!
Hey, you're that guy.
The My Pillow guy.
That's right, and I'm here to help you get the best sleep of your lives. Just like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and none of them worked. That's why I invented My Pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck aligned. My Pillow will hold its shape all night long regardless of your sleep position for the best sleep of your life.
Call or go online to order My Pillow Premium, and Mike will give you a second pillow absolutely free. Use the promo code on your screen to get 2 My Pillows for the price of 1. Don't delay. Order now.
You're sleeping better.
Much better.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative 3-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. you're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And joining us right now to tell us what he feels is going to shake down with the television networks for boxing in 2018 is my man Dax Kahn. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning. How is everybody today?
It's good. You said it's cold down there? How cold?
Oh, it's freezing. Last night it was below zero. During the day it wasn't so bad. We got to about 17. Right now it's freezing outside, but it's supposed to snow later on, which means it's going to get a little warmer.
Yeah, it's already snowing here, and we hadn't been above zero in a couple of weeks. It was 20 below yesterday, man.
Yeah, no, and that's
no. This is no wind chill. This is just regular. And the wind wasn't as bad as up here as it was down by you. For some reason, that you guys got a lot worse wind than we did. But Sal says he misses it, Dax.
I missed the wind.
I vote for let's send all this crap to him.
Get a warm breeze, you know.
Let's send it to him, Dax.
No wind chill.
You know, Sal, I've been thinking about trying to open up a little pizza place, and I could probably use some practice first at jumping into it. And you know what? You can come up here. I'll go down there, and
Absolutely. Come on down here. I need an extra hand.
It'd be like, no, it'd be like a timeshare type thing. You know what I mean?
I like timeshare.
Timeshare. Yeah, hey, let me guess, Dax. You'll go down there in the winter, and you'll be back of it.
Yeah. In the winter. There you go.
Well, I am thinking about franchising, so we can open up something up north too. And I would love to.
And Dax can manage the restaurant.
Hey, listen, Dax. let me give you a little hint with Sal. Sal thinks about things, and it takes 97 years for him to pull the trigger. So don't count on it. Don't count on it. Hey, so Dax, you were talking about television networks, and you wanted to give us your thoughts on maybe some long shots to make a play this year in the sport of boxing. What's your thoughts on how they all shake out?
All right. First, we said we know this boxing been slow. It's been a slow week, but some real news that is definitely something we should talk about. Considering over the last years, Bill, on here a lot of times we talk about, and throughout the sport, we've always wondered what happened to the gyms when every neighborhood used to have their own gym. Some neighborhoods had 2 gyms. Remember that. And boxing gyms were fluent. And we were hoping they were going to make a comeback. And then just last week, there was a report that former Olympic gold medalist Paul Gonzalez, he's arrested, working at the Eddie Herrera Boxing Club, but now he's under 8 felony counts of inappropriate sexual conduct towards the children that he was training in this gym.
Well, that doesn't help.
Wow.
No, it doesn't, and it's high profile. It was a 13-year-old girl who came out. And her and her family, are the ones who went out and reported this to the authorities, and then more people came about. So this is not good for the sport, considering that right now they're trying to make a surge. And Gonzalez is a guy who was almost like a folk hero over in Los Angeles. Now, he was the first Mexican-American to win a gold medal. I still remember him being on the podium, with tears, holding the flag. That year when the Olympics were in Los Angeles was phenomenal. It was probably one of, if not the best, U.S. Olympic team we ever had that year. We had Meldrick Taylor and Jerry Page, Mark Breland, Frank Tate, Virgil Hill, Henry Tillman, Tyrell Biggs, Evander Holyfield. All won these belts. And here in New York, Bill, Ray Rivera, from down in Newburgh, he had guys like Orlando Del Valle. Seems like he's trying to open up and work hard with these gyms and get something going. And what happens? He sits there and he gets in trouble for trafficking heroin. Rivera is a guy that, we have to, wonder sometimes. It seems that even when these gyms, the ones that are making a comeback, 75% of them are with guys who have no business being around gyms. And then you get somebody like Gonzalez and something like this happens, whether or not how it turns out in the end, this really turns these young kids and the families away from the sport. Ray Rivera, that's a guy, he's trafficking heroin. Meanwhile, he gets his one prospect, Orlando Del Valle, who was a hot prospect at the time, a shot against Victor Chinian, who was still a relevant name. And me and Alex Pierpoli are sitting there watching ringside as Ray Rivera is texting on his cell phone as his fighter's inside the ring.
Yeah, well,
You know, do we need to have some sort of background checks on these trainers, on these people that open up these gyms? You know, do they
Probably.
need to be monitored
I think it should,
a little
it
bit
should
more
all go.
strictly?
Well, I said a long time ago, I think that they should have to go through some kind of training and everything else, because all it takes is a $25 fee, and poof, you're a chief second, you know, at a commission. But so what are you thinking about the TV networks? I know I opened up the show. We were talking about the Anthony Joshua. Joseph Parker, and one of the stumbling blocks right now is the tangled mess that the U.S. television has with those two fighters, one being Showtime is owed one more fight for Joshua. HBO wants to make a run at Joshua, big money deal, multi-fight deal that they already have in place with his promoter Eddie Hearn and Danny Jacobs. And then, of course, the third shot was the fact that Bob Arum is part promoter, co-promoter of Joseph Parker, and he wants that fight on ESPN. You had some thoughts about even some other networks that are going to come into focus. How do you think it's going to shake out?
Well, you know, in 2017, in my opinion, and most of people's opinions, Showtime had separated themselves from the pack. In 2017, they started out with Badu Jack and James DeGale. They had Santa Cruz versus Frampton, Garcia versus Thurman, Linares Corolla 2, Brooks Spence, Russell Escadon, Joshua Klitschko, Mayweather McGregor, no matter what your opinion was on it. You had Lara Gasha, maybe you didn't like all the fights, but, you know, these were very relative main events. They drew in a lot of fans. As of right now, already, just over these next 2 months, Showtime has Claressa Shields and Tori Nelson this weekend. Shields is a big name. She draws in a lot of fans, even a lot of non-boxing fans. On the 20th, we have Spence versus Peterson. We have Robert Easter, Javier Fortuna. And then on the 10th, we have Lipinets, Mikey Garcia, Barthélemy versus Recola. Then we have Garcia Rios. We have David Benavidez and Ronald Gavril rematch for the super middleweight title. And then on HBO, we have Matisse against Kiran. We have Linares versus Mercedo Gesta. We have the Superfly 2 card. We have Rugvisi and Juan Francisco Estrada. Kudras versus McWilliams Aurora. We have Brian Valoria defending his WBA title against RDM Delkin. And then on the 3rd, you have Kovalev against Mikolan. You have Bivol against Barrera. April 28th, Danny Jacobs makes his comeback. And then on ESPN, we have Gilberto Ramirez against Habib Ahmed. We have Jerwin Encanis against Israel Gonzalez. Beltran versus Moses. Valdez versus Quigg. Ramirez versus Imam. And then here's the black horse, beIN Sports. A lot of people, what's beIN Sports? This is this Spanish sports channel that, you know, you do have to pay a little extra money for. I believe Time Warner does it for $2.99. But already they started out their year or this weekend with Cesar Juarez against Isaac Dogbo, where that was an exciting fight. Dogbo pulled off an upset. You have Diego Haga versus Moises Fuentes. We have Miguel Bercho against Christian Maharas. We got Louis Neri against Shinsuke Yamanaka. You know, that's a rematch. We have, you know, can these networks keep this up?
You know, the thing about beIN Sports is they started to climb last year. They're actually a network that's out of the UK, but they have a Spanish version of the show that was showing a lot of great fights last year. And I hope you're right. I hope they do take on more live events. I know that they were showing some Day Behind or whatever. But I would love to see them put more boxing on, because they mostly show soccer on that network. But what about network television? You think they're going to throw their hat back in the ring?
Right now, I think the network television is going to be very leery because of what happened with the PBC. Right now, PBC is only on FS1. So a lot of networks are going to be leery due to that. They see what happened and what took place. And then with so many other sports, especially seasonal sports, whether it's basketball or it's NFL or it's Major League Baseball, and then, of course, you always have NASCAR or horse racing, whatever the case may be, that are going to be guaranteed to draw in these viewers. So I think a lot of these networks are going to be hesitant to jump back in there, seeing exactly what happened with the PBC. The ratings weren't that great, other than, you know, a few select events. So these networks are going to say to themselves, you know, boxing, as we always know, is a business. You know what? Are we going to go with the guaranteed ratings, or do we want to take a chance again?
I hope they do. I hope they take.
I hope so too. But again, it's business. What's what it comes down to, and the old saying, "One apple spoils the bunch." And Heyman and the PBC, their model just showed it wasn't successful, and these networks can make more money other ways.
No, what happened with the Al Heyman thing, and what people keep forgetting, was Al Heyman threw all kinds of money at the networks to air the program, and the networks today would never turn down somebody paying them for content where they didn't have to worry about selling advertising, et cetera, et cetera. The misconception that everyone had was that, it's on network television, blah, blah, blah. The plan that Al Heyman had was he had hoped to have the numbers so big that he would be able to come back and say to that same network, okay, I gave you that. I bought the time for that one. Now you saw all the numbers. You saw all the potential money that could be made. Now you pay me for my series. And they all laughed because the numbers were not as good as he thought. And the commercials, the sponsors, potential sponsors and advertisers just did not step up to the plate. And I think the reason for that is the lack of interest in the sport from the powers that be that make the decisions on where they want to put their money. I think the best move for network television, so to speak, if you want to call it that, was the FS1 deal with Golden Boy to continue to put fights on a regular basis. And we got to give Top Rank and Bob Arum credit for cutting a deal with ESPN. I know that's not Channel 2 or 4 or CBS, NBC, ABC, but most people have ESPN on their television dial, and I think that was huge for the sport, to be honest with you.
It was, but also a lot of these cable companies, especially Spectrum, since they stepped in and bought out Time Warner, they have been charging for channels like ESPN in certain areas, which is going to make it even more difficult. So to be on a channel, CBS, NBC, or something like that, or even a regular Fox channel would be huge for the sport. And forget about a regular series, even if, maybe a once a month type thing, that would be huge for the sport, and let it build slowly. Back in the day when I was younger, I remember that if it was on ABC in a wide world of sports, even if you didn't know boxing, you knew that this fight was something of relevance because it was on ABC Wide World of Sports.
Right. Well, Wild World of Sports did everything, and that was, the other. That was when boxing could be tied in with all the major sports. Now it's not. It's the redheaded stepson.
That's more or less what I'm saying. If they start out slowly, throwing in, a fight here and there, and let it build up slowly instead of jumping all into one, which is kind of what happened with Heyman. And just as you stated, that's because Heyman was throwing out so much money, and not all the other promoters are going to be willing to either fork up that money or do they have all that money. So that'd be interesting. But right now, considering what we already have on tap on the networks we spoke about and what happened last year, can they keep up that momentum? Will they keep up that momentum? Will the promoters keep continuing working with them to make sure that they're providing these fights for these networks? Because if these networks continue to do well like this, that's going to kind of budge, maybe tell these these mainstream channels, these network television, as we call it, the ones that are available to everybody, to say maybe we should start doing this. Showtime and CBS, they are the same company, so maybe they'll decide, okay, now let's put this on our regular CBS channel and see what happens, and the other networks will start to run with it. I'm curious to see what happens, and right now, because there's so much momentum, is the time to see these networks to do it, and the time to where they would more than likely have the most success.
I think that boxing is going to find its niche. I said this several years ago, and I still believe that that's the case. It's going to find its way outside of traditional television. It's already there on streams, internet streams, etc. You mentioned yourself the other day in our meeting about internet television with today's younger generation and how what they watch and how they watch it. That's where boxing. You see, that's where the promoters messed up. The greed factor was evident. A promoter that, and Sal and I talked about this, and this is why I say Sal doesn't pull the trigger, but we talked about this several years ago. We could have done something, and it could have been running the sport of boxing right now in terms of visibility. But yet everybody had to go and chase those pay-per-view models. It wasn't the $9.99 you had to pay, because people don't care if they're paying $9.99 or $99.99. If the fight is worth it, they're going to pay for it. What you needed to do was offer the fights for free. Build similar to what Al Heyman was trying to do, but build up an audience that's worldwide. That's an infinite amount of people. And then the advertisers would have come, because the numbers don't lie. Everybody looks now. We were quoting numbers, Twitter followers for popularity between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua earlier. You know yourself, Dax. You and I have talked about it 100 million times about how terrible Lou DiBella is in terms of promoting his fighters. He signs them and does nothing for you. You know, Lamanakis is one good example in female world. You know, it's just the greed factor, and I'm not suggesting it could be fixed with a magic wand, because it can't. But it's a shame, because boxing could be at our fingertips a lot easier than it is right now. Right now, it could be.
Another hot topic is Dana White and Bob Arum. You know, with Dana White entering the boxing business, and people saying, no, he's going to fail. On this show, if we go back a couple of years, I said on this show, if Dana White should ever enter the boxing business, it would take him just a matter of 2 or 3 years to actually become the biggest promoter in the sport. And people say no, because look how little he pays the MMA fighters. No, because they do this. And no, boxing fans don't want to do that. Dana White isn't going to come into the sport and try and follow the same type of mold. Dana White knows that fighters get paid differently. Dana White is a smart guy. Dana White built that company off of the internet when nobody else would broadcast the UFC. When Senator John McCain called MMA, or the UFC in particular, human cockfighting, and none of the networks wanted to go against him, Dana White took to the internet. He took to streamings on small channels even before social media, Twitter, or should I say Facebook, or even YouTube became as big as it was. And that's how he built that company up. And the more that interest grew, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's found his small niches on pay-per-views, and then he started building that up globally. When boxing in New York was at a standstill just a year ago because of this $1 million insurance policy, who was throwing fights in New York? The UFC was doing that. Why were they doing that? Because Dana White knows how to capitalize on these things. Now, boxing, why they're a step behind, I don't know. Maybe it goes a lot to what you always say, how promoters don't promote anymore, which is, you know, actually true. Why are they always waiting for somebody to set the model? Why they sit there and they are willing to do something after that model's already set and then take credit for it? Al Heyman, as much as we bash him, as much as we dislike him, I have to give Al Heyman credit for at least one thing, and saying, you know something, he went out there and he took a chance. Yeah, sure, great, Al, it wasn't your money, you didn't have a lot to lose on that, but he did go out there and he did try and take a chance. And some of these promoters need to take a little bit of a chance. Perhaps, you know what, lose a few dollars if you want to make a few dollars. You have to invest money to win money, and, you know, to make money. And some of these promoters today are just not willing to do that. And once Bob Arum is, you know, out of this sport for good, you're going to have Eddie Hearn right now seems to be the leader in the market on innovation and really taking control of things, because the U.S. promoters are following the same old plan no matter how unsuccessful. You know,
You're right. Al Heyman didn't take any chance. He used everybody else's money. He was a spender. That's funny because that's 100% true. But anyway, and you know what, Sal? I kind of take it. What Dax just said, did you hear how he slipped in there? Like you always say, promoters don't promote, and that's actually true. Whoa. Was Dax insinuating that I don't say true things, Sal?
No, not at all. That's not what I got.
I don't know. I see a subliminal message in there from my man, but anyway.
Deontay Wilder, as far as today's topic, Deontay Wilder, I see a lot of frustration in him. And because of how he's promoted and because of the way he has been presented, we mentioned Lou DiBella, the person that sent in the email or that article that you read. They said that person mentioned Lou DiBella and the PBC not promoting him right, which is correct. Remember, Lou DiBella had one of the best fighters in this sport that we've seen in 20 years. He had Sergio Martinez when he was the lineal middleweight champion of the world. Sergio Martinez was, without question, a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter for those several years. And when did you hear about Sergio Martinez? You didn't hear about him when he was in negotiation for a fight. You didn't even hear about anything when he signed the fight. When you heard about Sergio Martinez from Lou DiBella was only the week of the fight. And that's because DiBella was trying to sell tickets. It's not because he was trying to promote Sergio Martinez. So, Deontay Wilder is in, somewhat of a similar situation. Same thing with the if I was black comment. I think that was taken out of context. I don't think he was trying to insinuate that, well, if I was black, things would be different. Deontay Wilder's no idiot. He realizes Floyd Mayweather, the highest grossing fighter of all time, was black, obviously. Mike Tyson, one of the most, or if not the most popular fighter of all time, was black. You have Errol Spence, numerous fighters. You can name so many that are all of color. But I think that, he's just thrusting his frustrations out in so many different directions because he's not really sure on who to blame. Maybe he blames himself a little bit, but I also think Deontay Wilder, because of his promoter, because of the PBC, where a lot of the PBC fighters, not just Deontay Wilder, but even the Charlo brothers and Adonis Stevenson, even though Adonis Stevenson deserves a lot of this criticism that comes to him, they've all lost favor with the fans, even PBC fans, due to the fact on how they're marketed and how they're presented. And Deontay Wilder's stuck in that situation. When you look at Deontay Wilder, his resume is not as bad as you think it is. And Anthony Joshua, again, that's something I said on this show after the Dominic Breazeale fight, and I even said it on this show after he won the title against Charles Martin. Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, is going to mirror Lennox Lewis very soon, and he's going to get upset, and he's going to lose to one of these guys he thinks he's not going to lose to. And Joseph Parker just might be that guy. Anthony Joshua, is looking past Joseph Parker. He's already talked about, well, if Deontay Wilder isn't going to sign to unify these titles after I beat Joseph Parker in March, they're going to fight Alexander Povetkin. What's wrong with that? You're already looking past Joseph Parker. He is the weakest link in the heavyweight division. We know that in terms of champions. But you can't go and look past a guy like Joseph Parker, who is a genuine heavyweight puncher. And when you look past somebody like Joseph Parker for something that comes up next, forget about Anthony Joshua, but the last 2 most dominant heavyweights in boxing and 2 of the most dominant heavyweights in the history of the sport, Vladimir Klitschko when he lost to Corey Sanders and Lennox Lewis when he lost to Oliver McCall. They lost their belts doing the exact same thing and behaving, conducting, and thinking the exact same way Anthony Joshua is right now, looking past Joseph Parker.
Good point.
Interesting.
Good point. Dax, I appreciate your time today, and we'll be looking forward to you next time. I know we're off next week, but we'll try and get you in on Friday if you're available, and can't wait to kick off the new series at the end of the month. So we'll be talking to you soon, brother.
Absolutely looking forward to it. And that first one's going to be, that's a smoker. Duran versus Chavez Sr.
Love it.
Love it. Love that.
All right, Dax.
All
Talk
right,
to you later.
everybody, enjoy the day.
All right.
Stay warm.
Take care, Dick.
That's Dax Kahn. You can check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. And for all the affiliates right now, radio and TV, we are not taking a break here. And the reason is because I got a bunch of emails I want to try and get to. Now, we're not going to be able to get to them all, Sal, but we are going to pick up with a couple of these from next time we come back on, which is Wednesday. So first one is from my man Joel. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, welcome back. Was glad to have you back to start the new year last week. Hope you guys enjoyed your holidays. These questions are for both of you guys. First off, as we begin 2018, which promoter do you think is the most powerful or having the most success as we speak? Right now, I believe it's Eddie Hearn. I mean, you could make the argument that it's Top Rank or even Golden Boy, but I think Eddie Hearn is the most powerful global promoter right now. And like I've stated in the past, Sal, I would love to see Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions get serious about the promotional aspect of that company. Right now, it's basically, I don't know, a joke, really, because Mayweather Promotions was just Floyd. And, Floyd's traveling the world. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff with him and doing this, doing that, investing. Now he wants you to skate. Coach sent me a link He's opening up a skating rink in Michigan, and he's charging $50 or $60 to skate with him. I mean, come on, this is a guy that made $100 million in the ring. He's got to charge somebody $50 to skate with him. That's a joke. But I would like to see Mayweather Promotions be more in the forefront. But right now, I believe Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Sports. What do you think?
Well, you got to also throw up there Golden Boy.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, do you think they're the most powerful?
No. I think Eddie Hearn has a lot of leverage on his side. I think a lot of what is being done is through Eddie Hearn's connections and leverage in the sport of boxing right now. I also, you have all the ones that we've been enduring for the last 20, 30 years. Top rank, main events. Some of these are going to wayside. I mean, Don King Promotions, they're
Well, the question was, who do we thought was the most powerful? I think Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Hearn.
Okay.
Eddie Hearn right now. I think Eddie Hearn. I agree with you there.
The second question was, I was curious about your thoughts on Fedor Chodunov possibly now facing Bobby Gunn Jr. on the Gassiev-Dorticos undercard in February. I read Bobby Gunn Jr. is ranked 12th by the WBA, while Federer is ranked number 3. No disrespect to Bobby Jr., but he's fought a journeyman named Guy Parker twice and a bunch of guys making their pro debuts, along with a 45-year-old Mike Miranda, who had a padded record of 44-7. This is such a joke. What do you guys think? First and foremost, Bobby Gunn Sr., is a great guy. I know him very well. But Chodunov against Bobby Gunn Jr. is a joke. And, doesn't the ranking of him being ranked 12th by the sanctioning body WBA say it all, Joel? I mean, come on. It's a joke. What do you think, Sal?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you 100%.
And no disrespect to the fighter. I mean, it's not his fault.
No.
Again, it falls back to what we say, right?
It's not the fighter's fault.
Yeah, I mean, the fighter is supposed to fight whoever they put in front. It's the management's fault when they don't increase the level of opposition. So this kid has never had a chance to get better.
No, and I agree. And that's the progression you give a young fighter along the pathway. So when he does evolve and he gets thrown in the ring against a top level opponent, he's going to be able to know where he is and then look like he has the wherewithal to beat him.
This next email is from my man Coach. He says, "Hey, Billy C, did you read bought and paid for Floyd Mayweather's latest rant about wanting his face on the 4 world title belts? He said, and I quote, I got the emerald," this is Floyd, "I got the emerald belt, I got the money belt, they create belts. They named a belt after me, the money belt. As a matter of fact, I'm letting the WBC know right now, I want all the fighters to petition, I want my face on the WBC belt, and I need my face on the IBF, the WBO, and the WBA belts. I need my face on all the belts. The Godfather's face should be on the belts."
Unbelievable.
Listen. One of my biggest hangups in boxing is the fact that fighters go and use media as a vehicle to promote themselves when it's based on recognition. Okay, Dax mentioned Lennox Lewis earlier. I never liked Lennox Lewis. You mentioned Larry Holmes. I never liked Larry Holmes. The reason why I didn't like these guys during their career, now I have since put them where they belong historically on my list because I give them both the credit that they deserve now. But both fighters did something that I can't stand, and Floyd's doing it right now. They're crying into the mic saying they need recognition. The beauty of the sport of boxing is that boxing automatically gives you the recognition if you perform. The thing about Floyd Mayweather, you could say what you want about his 50-0. You could say what you want about him making all the money. You could say what you want about his cherry picking. And no matter what you say, the facts are facts. He was never an exciting fighter. I shouldn't say that because he was exciting in the beginning of his career. But at least for the last 15 years, he was not exciting, even a little bit exciting. The guy, in my opinion, just like Coach is suggesting, is more of a fraud. And I don't mean that because of his ability, because He clearly had the ability. I mean, with where he thinks he sits in all-time greatness, he's not the best fighter ever. He's number 25 on my book right now, but I wait 5 years until when they fought their last fight. But I certainly am not giving him much credit for beating Conor McGregor. The only place that his face should be on, Sal, in my opinion, is a milk carton. I think Floyd Mayweather's face should be on a milk carton, missing. Can't find him. That's where I think. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The World Championship belt, or belts as we have to feel our way through the maze today, transcends any single fighter. It is the coveted declaration that you are the best fighter in your division in the world today, even though they're saturated with multiple belts. So to have an ego so big that you think you want to plaster your name or your face on this coveted belt to identify and recognize you and associate it with a world champion forevermore. I will never look at another fight again if that so happens to be what's granted. I think that is pathetic. I think, as you just said, I'm with you on the same thing, same page with Lennox Lewis and Larry Holmes. I respect these fighters now. I love what they did in their career when they were there, but at the time, I didn't really warm up to them or follow them for that reason, because their skill level may have been one thing, but when they were whining and moaning that they want recognition, they want respect, other than just earning it in a ring for themselves, they had to use the media to try and demand it. That turned me off. Well, Floyd Mayweather turned me off right now just by thinking that his name and his popularity and his ego is as big as a world coveted championship belt. That just, it discredits the belt. It discredits him. I'm furious. I would never want to see that.
Well, the truth of the matter is there are other pictures of fighters on the belts.
I know that.
And the thing is that Floyd.
But to demand it.
Right. Floyd's picture would most likely end up being on a belt. Yes. But for him to go out and demand it and then request other fighters to start a petition, that's suggesting that you think that all the other fighters put you on a pedestal. All the other fighters put him on a pedestal because they wanted to fight him. They wanted to make the money. They wanted to prove that they were better than him. He dodged a lot of fighters throughout his career. We got an email last week showing that the guy never fought a real unification fight. He always picked the lesser, the weakest opponent that he possibly could, at least in the last 10 or 15 years. Listen, is he a great fighter? Yes. Is he an all-time great? Yes. Is he going to be in the Hall of Fame, first ballot? Yes. Is he the best fighter of all time? Absolutely not. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and you're right. I mean, when John L. Sullivan's picture's on a belt, or when this one's on a belt, that's fine. But it got there because the powers that may be felt these fighters earned their place. So you know what? I'm sure one day, Floyd might humbly be plastered on there as well. One or two, who knows?
This is why
to insist on it.
Floyd's ego is why he won't be successful with Mayweather Promotions.
No, you're absolutely right.
If he would let his ego go,
yes,
and use everything that he made, not everything, but use a portion of what he made in the sport and create an empire. He could have Mayweather Promotions could be the biggest promotional company that the world has ever seen. But in order for it to be successful, Floyd has to let his ego take a back seat. And that's something that Floyd has not been able to do throughout his career. That's why we're going to see Floyd Mayweather back in the ring at some point. He's going to get back in that ring and get his ass kicked, because at some point, even him cherry picking somebody else, it's not going to work for him. You watch. He's got 5 years to wait to get in the Hall of Fame. If first ballot, stay out of the ring for 5 years. That's the question. Can Floyd stay out of the ring for 5 years? I don't know. I got a couple of more emails that we're going to save for the next show. One, just so you guys are listening, you know I got the emails and we will read it. From my man Jeff from Pennsylvania. He's got one with the subject Larry Holmes. So we'll read that one next time. And this one, I can't wait to read. This one's from my man Willie, I should say, who likes to watch cockfights. But Willie gave me some quotes. We were talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly last week. Gave me some quotes for when they were hanging Tuco, Sal. And I can't wait to read it. We'll read those 2 emails on Wednesday. But the last email I'm going to read today is the second one from my man Coach, the second half of Coach's email. He says, how about Freddie Roach doing his WWE name recognition play, working with, now Coach said Adam Kaunaki, but he made a mistake. It's actually Lago Kiladaisy for his upcoming fight with Adam Kaunaki. It reminds me of Roach working with Brian Minto to give legitimacy for his fight against Chris Arreola, who was rebounding off of Vitaly Klitschko's stoppage loss. What's your thoughts? My thoughts here are that, no disrespect to Freddie Roach. I know he's won Trainer of the Year several times. But to be honest with you, I think Freddie Roach is an extremely overrated trainer. I think he's a very one-dimensional trainer. I think that his success story, you can almost make a parallel between him and my friend Kevin Rooney. Both of them had extreme success with one fighter. But their ability to harness a fighter's individual strengths and weaknesses and create a successful fighter is where they fail. In other words, Kevin Rooney could not make Mike Tyson style out of every fighter that he tried to work with, and he did. I remember going into the gym in the Catskill and even watching everyone. They could be 9 feet tall doing, bobbing and weaving, fighting short. And Freddie Roach is no different. He had Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is an offensive-minded fighter, which worked great with Freddie Roach. But Freddie Roach has proven that same mentality, unless he's got a similar fighter to Manny, just never worked. The guy didn't know anything about defense or doesn't use it, or he uses offense as defense. And the communication issue, hey, I'm not afraid to say it, the communication issue that Freddie has is hard for fighters to understand in the heat of battle, at least the perception to me is. And then he also even throws in another wrench. He works with fighters that don't even speak English, so he's got to have an interpreter in there. No, I think Freddie Roach is a hired gun. I agree with Coach here that he's a name they're throwing in to try to justify the fight. But Freddie Roach, despite all his success, I believe he's a one-dimensional trainer and grossly overrated. What do you think, Sal?
I do, and I have thought the very same for many years. I respect Freddie Roach. I admire Freddie Roach, but do I think he's the end-all to all trainers and an automatic trainer for every champion? No, I do not. I think Freddie Roach has limited ability on a lot of levels, but I think he is a good, solid trainer. I think he is good for several fighters, but he's not the kind of trainer that is going to make every fighter fight to his best capabilities. And in all due respect, Freddie, I think you're a great man, and I wish you the very best. But I think a lot of the reasons that you mentioned are one of the reasons why I don't think he's the greatest trainer out there.
Don't forget to join Sal and myself January 19th at the Sea Palms Resort for our next Billy C boxing get-together. It's our holiday after the holiday party. So get a hold of the Sea Palms. Go to seapalms.com and reach out to them. Tell them you want to be part of the Billy C event on Friday, January 19th. And don't forget, make a weekend of it Great golf to play. Come on down early and hang out with Sal and myself at Sal's restaurant. I'll be the guy drinking scotch and stuff in my face at the bar. On this day in boxing history, January 8th, in 1975, Miguel Canto wins a 15-round decision over Shoji Aguma to win the WBC World Flyweight title. It took place in Japan. On this day in the year 2000, Johnny Tapia wins a 12-round decision over Jorge Eliezer Julio to retain his WBO World Bantamweight title, and that took place in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Talk about having gyms, multiple gyms in one town. Albuquerque is really there's a plethora of gyms. You could see boxing gyms, two on the same street. I was shocked to see it. Talk about the mecca of boxing, Albuquerque, New Mexico, a hidden gem. FYI there. On this day in 1995, former world middleweight champ and Boxing Hall of Famer Carlos Monzon died in a car accident, returning to prison while on furlough from his conviction of killing his common law wife. He had a career record of 87 wins, 58 coming by knockout, with 3 losses and 9 draws. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. He was 52 years old when he died on that day. And, you know, for some reason I thought it was earlier than 95. But geez, that was a long time ago anyway. And finally, on this day, January 8th, in 1789, Jack Broughton, who was considered the father of boxing, died at 85 years old. He's credited as the first guy to set up a boxing school to teach the sport of boxing. He set up Broughton's rules in 1743 after he himself killed a man inside the ring. His rules stayed in effect for almost 100 years when they were finally replaced by the London Prize rules in 1838. Jack Broughton, 85 years old, was he was into fencing and tied the two sports together and started boxing. So a little history there.
Interesting.
Hey,
very interesting. I often wondered about fencing because you could joust. You know, you're doing this. It's like a jab, and very interesting.
Yeah, no, that's Jack Broughton, the father of boxing. Hey, that concludes our show for today. Make sure there's no live show tomorrow, but make sure you tune in Wednesday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.